Were you followed? How can I be sure you're not working for the other side? Okay, you've convinced me. Now, I have the secret files right here, but they're so secret that they're in code. So you're gonna have to decode them. The key is the letter X. Now remember, you can only call me by my spy name, which is Copernicus. Newton Copernicus. There's no time to lose. Did you just see some guy walk through here? He had like a coat and sunglasses on, but it's nighttime. I mean, he was really handsome, but I'm kind of worried. Did he leave this here? Is this his? Let's see. Looks like it's written in some sort of code. We're going to need to use what's called a cipher to figure out what this says. Now, before we do that, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jackie Valentine, and I'm an exhibits experience lead with the Fleet Science Center. At the Science Center, we have a studio called Studio X, and one of the projects that we do at Studio X is what's called cryptography. Now, cryptography comes from two Greek words, kryptos, which means hidden, and graphia, which means to write. So hidden writing, okay? So cryptography is the study, the science of writing or decoding coded messages. Now, I was talking about a cipher earlier. That is the tool that you would use to either write messages in code in the first place or to decode them later. Now, specifically today, we're going to be using what's called a substitution cipher. So you would take an entire alphabet, A through Z, and you trade that out, you substitute it for a different alphabet which starts with a different letter. So maybe instead of starting with A, it starts with E, and then it goes all the way through the alphabet and comes back to E at the end. But we're going to have to make our substitution cipher first for you to really understand how it works. Now, to make your substitution cipher, you only need a few materials. You need some paper. You also need a marker or a pen or a pencil. I'm using a marker specifically so that you can see it easier on the screen, but if you have a pencil or a pen, those are actually going to be just as good as a marker would be. Now you also need some scissors. You need a roll of tape or some glue to put your strips of paper together in a moment. And that's all that you need. Now, always remember, ask your adults before doing any projects, because this project uses scissors, and scissors can be dangerous. Always ask permission, follow all instructions very closely, and be careful. Now, to start making our substitution cipher, we actually need to make 26 lines all the way across the page. Those are going to be guidelines for where we put our letters for our substitution cipher later. Now, we actually don't start by drawing these lines. We want them to be as equal as possible. So we're going to actually fold the paper to make sure that we have as many equal guidelines as we can. So if we fold it right in half, you get those two edges to meet up. You fold it in the middle, and then you fold it in half again. And try to make them as straight as you can, because these guidelines are going to really help when you're drawing. You can use your thumbnail to crease it, and then you fold it again. This is the third fold that we're doing here. And if you can, you're going to fold it one last time. This could be really tough, so you might have an adult help you with this one, because the paper just gets so thick. Have that. We're going to unfold it. Now we have all these little spaces here made by the creases in the paper. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 little spaces here. But what we have to do is we have to make sure that we have 26 spaces for our letters. So we're going to actually just draw our best guess as to what the middle point in between two of these panels is, okay? And it's gonna be okay to guess, because since we already have these guidelines, it's gonna be easier to guess what the middle is. So I'm gonna put one mark here, all the way down. You're gonna make these lines pretty long because you need to draw 3 alphabets on top of each other. Now, if you want, you can add the lines where the creases are as well. But if you want to skip that step, you can, because you already have those lines there to guide you. But I'm going to put them in there just in case you are having a hard time seeing those creases. Okay, now we have 32 spaces here, but of course we only have 26 letters of the alphabet. So you only need to draw the alphabet from A to Z, and then you can stop. We'll have a bunch of extra spaces left, but that's okay. Okay, now that we have our alphabets in between our lines, we're going to cut the bottom 2 strips out. We're going to tape them together end to end. Now I like to use tape rather than glue, but if you only have glue, then that's fine. It'll still work just as well. Now you'll notice that I taped the letter A from one strip so that the A of this one is right next to the Z of the next one. And you'll see that these lines, while not perfect, are still lining up pretty closely. That's how you're going to want to put them together, so that it goes all the way A through Z and then starts over again. Okay? Now I made an example message here, and you'll see that it says A equals J at this corner, which means that J is the key letter. So I'm going to take my long strip, I'm going to find J on it. There's actually 2. This J is too far towards the end of the alphabet, so I'm going to use this one over here instead. I'm going to put that under my letter A, and as long as J is under A, then all these other letters are going to line up. Now, of course, these are not perfectly spaced apart just right. You'll see they kind of get a little bit off from each other right here, but as long as we keep an eye on which letter is supposed to go with the next one, see this is kind of a little bit diagonal, then we will know where they're supposed to go. I'm actually going to move this over a little bit to the left because it looks like all of the lines kind of moved a little bit. Yours may not turn out perfect as well, and that's just fine. So J goes with A, but I don't have any A's in my message. So what's the first letter? I got Q here. So of course these are the coded letters and these are the real letters. So if it says Q, then it really means H. So I will write an H under my Q on the message. Okay, so Q is really H. And then the next letter is, Q is N. N is under the letter E. So E is the real letter. We have 2 letter U's here. So U is under the letter L, like that. And then the last one is X. X is under the letter O, which gives me hello. And of course, the exclamation point is not in code. So QNUUX, Canucks, means hello if the code has J as the code key. Now it also works the other way around as well. If you want to write a coded message rather than decoding one, then you start by picking a key letter. Because of course, if you change that while you're writing, you're going to never be able to decipher it or decode it. So if I wanted to write hello with a different key letter, let's say that I used the letter G as my key letter. Instead of having Q be the letter, I would want H again as the letter that I want to write, but it has to be in code. So it's actually the letter N this time. And then E would be K, L would be R, and then L again would be R, and then O would be U. And there we go. Now we know how to make a substitution cipher. Now the thing is that we can decode messages with this, we can write coded messages, but it all relies on that key letter. In this case, for today's message, it was J. When we deciphered the word hello, when it was QNUUX, it relied on knowing that the letter J really meant the letter A. Okay? Now, if you write a letter to somebody else that is in code, they have to know what the key letter is. Otherwise, they're not going to know where to start, and they won't know how to decode your message. Okay? You don't have to write it on the page if you don't want to. You can either tell them over the phone, or you can write it in a different letter, or if you see them in person, you could tell them, hey, I have a secret. The key letter is W, or whatever letter you choose. Now, the problem is that we don't have a key for this message. Unfortunately, it just is jumbled up letters. And I'm pretty sure pzfbkzbfpbzbovtebab doesn't mean anything in any language. So it is in code, but I don't know how to decode it because I don't have A equals anything here to tell me where to start. But you were here before I got here, and I was pretty close behind that guy. So I'm thinking maybe he was still here when you were here. Maybe he told you what the key is. And if he did, then you can translate this, even though I can't. Get your substitution cipher and see if you can decode this message. Once you do, write the message down, take a picture of what the message says, and then post it to social media, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. You can find our links down here. And if you tag us, then I will be able to see it and find out what the message says. And then that'll help me be able to find this guy who's wandering around my garage, leaving weird folders behind. All right? So until then, I'll see you later.